Hi, and welcome to Ivy English. I'm Angela.
And I'm Wesley.
Today is May 14th, and we're on the second half of a two-day article on page 37. The article is Tipping in the U.S.
今天我们是2天的文章的第2天。那这篇文章的标题，中文标题是走跳美国，小费要有。
So yesterday we talked about how tipping is kind of a weird practice. And at first I thought it was just the U.S., but there's other countries that do it in various forms. And it started off as a wealthy person's thing. Like they would do it. They would give servants money when they stayed at other people's houses to sort of make sure the servants liked them and took care of their clothes well the next time they came back. And Americans who have this weird love of snobbery sometimes, they really loved this idea in the mid-1800s and were like, yes, I've been to Europe. I know how to act like a cultured person. And so it became really entrenched in the U.S., especially in the 1960s when it became a kind of law. And now there's a huge contentious argument about tipping in the U.S. You can tap into this if you want to Google it on the internet. You'll find lots and lots of people yelling at each other about this. Now, today we have more to tell you about how tipping works in the U.S. Most of it is about basically stories of people leaving huge tips and the kind of the effect that has.
好，昨天文章里面呢，我们有谈到这个小费在美国给小费的起源呢，其实在英国。好，那英国那个时候到有贵族或者到那个有钱人家庄园里面去做客的时候，离开的时候呢，都会给一点小费给那些仆人因为你来这些仆人有服侍你。好，那慢慢的这个美国人呢，美国是在19世纪中期的时候呢，开始注意到这个风潮。那个时候很多美国人到欧洲到英国去这个旅游回来之后呢，为了要显示说我是见过世面的人我是 cultured 我是有文化的人所以他们也开始在美国开始给小费。那慢慢在美国呢，这个给小费这个做法这个习俗就慢慢的成这个 entrenched， 昨天我们用到这一个字就是根深蒂固了。好，那反而英国呢给小费的这个趋势反而慢慢的没有那么的明显，慢慢的 faded away 那昨天还谈到说给小费其实现在在美国是有一些争论的，有些争议的有的人觉得说那你这个因为你认为这个 waiter 这些服务人员会拿小费，所以你给他的这个工资就少，那这样变得是你把这个服务人员的薪资或他工资变得转嫁到这个客人的身上，变得我们消费者要负责这个服务人员的工资这样对吗所以慢慢就开始有人在争论这个问题了。
So let's read today's article. It's some fun stories. One interesting aspect of tipping in the U.S. is the excitement of sharing stories of astronomical tips. If you want to make headlines, the easiest way to do that may be by leaving an extra large tip the next time you are dining out. In 2013, someone caught the attention of the media when they began leaving large sums at restaurants across the U.S. The diner left tips of $10,000 US at a Los Angeles eatery, $5,000 at a bistro in Chicago, and $3,000 at a cafe in Ann Arbor, Michigan. They included the Instagram handle @tipsforjesus on their receipts, which allowed people to keep track of the person's spending. In total, more than $130,000 was left in tips. However, some sources have claimed the person was the former vice president of PayPal, Jack Selby. Not everyone remains anonymous or gives away money for no reason. Bob Erb was eating at a burger place in Canada on his way to his father's funeral when he began speaking with the restaurant's owner, Clifford Luther. Luther mentioned that his daughter had been diagnosed with cancer. When Erb received the bill for his burger and fries, he wrote out a check for $10,000. In another case, a couple at a hotel bar in New Jersey noticed a paw print tattoo on the wrist of their bartender and asked her about it. She mentioned that her dog was having surgery after swallowing a plastic ball and that she was struggling to make ends meet in spite of working 3 jobs. The couple ended up leaving a $1,000 tip for the single mother of 3 at the end of the evening. These kinds of stories are endlessly fun because one wants to think that it could happen to you.
Yeah. 这种故事大家都很喜欢听因为大家看的时候大家多多少少都想说哇，如果是发生在我身上多棒。
It's fun to imagine some, money just dropping out of the air, a windfall like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one One interesting aspect of tipping in the U.S. is the excitement of sharing stories of astronomical tips. So I love how this sentence begins because it's how I often begin sentences. It's like a very typical Angela pattern. One interesting aspect of momodonshi, it's a great way to talk about, I'm going to say, a piece about a larger topic. And so you can use this in casual speech like I do, or you can use this in an article like this article does. And so one thing that's really fun to talk about with tipping is the astronomical tips. Astronomical means out of this world. Literally, it means outer space or stars. It's basically tips that are huge beyond belief.
好，所以这个句子，这篇文章开头这个句子，各位可以学起来哈。这是一种介绍新讯息的一个很好的句子哈。他说 ，one interesting aspect of something 哈，就是这个东西有一个很有趣的一个面向啊，一个层面 ，aspect 就是一个层面。好，所以在 tipping in the U.S. 在美国小费有一个很有趣的这个层面啊，是什么呢？是 the excitement of， 就是这件事情所带来的那种兴奋。什么东西带来的兴奋呢 ？of sharing。你跟人家分享 stories of 一些什么样的故事呢 ？stories of astronomical tips 啊，这个 astronomical 是天文数字的啊，这天价的那个数字很大啊。那这样的一些 tips 啊 ，astronomical tips 就是天价的这些小费，那个小费多到你会觉得哇，这简直是天文数字。
Now, if you want to make headlines means become part of the news and not just a little part, but like headlines where lots of people are talking about it. The easiest way to do that, to make yourself into a headline, may be by leaving an extra large tip the next time you are dining out. And by extra large, we don't mean a couple of $100 NT.
好，这个an extra large tip， 这个 extra 在这里是副词哈，就是这个格外的非常的意思啊。其实这个 extra large 就是我们买衣服的时候呢 XL 就是 extra large 啊，所以呢 extra 是副词啊。我们常常讲 extra dry 就是非常非常干哈，或者这个an extra fast car 哈，一个 unusually fast 一个 exceptionally fast 的一辆车哈，所以就是 extra large tip 就很大很大的这个小费。所以我们这个句他说，如果你想要 make headlines， 就是你要上头条，要上新闻哈。这个 headlines 其实是头条新闻，但基本上 make headlines 就是上新闻的意思哈，就上头条新闻的意思。你要上新闻的话呢，最简单的办法啊 ，to do that 就是指 make headlines。你要上新闻的话，最简单的方法 maybe 可能就是你留下一笔很大的小费 ，the next time you are dining out， 你下一次出去吃饭的时候留一大笔小费，你就上新闻了。
So in 2013...Actually, as I think about it, 2013 to 2015 was kind of like the golden age for hearing stories like this.
Oh.
It's kind of interesting to think about it. But anyways, in 2013, someone caught the attention of the media. So they got all of... When we say the media, we mean the newspapers and professional print outlets. We don't mean social media.
Yeah.
But social media was probably one big reason why this all got passed around. So I just want to distinguish. The media is traditional media, and we'll say social media when we mean social media. Okay, so someone caught the attention of the media when they began leaving large amounts of money at restaurants across the U.S.
OK 好，在2013年的时候，那刚刚 Angela 老师讲到说，印象中好像2013到2015这段期间，好像特别是这一类的小费的故事哈，特别多的时候啊，不知道什么原因啊。那所以在
we got distracted by politics after that.
啊，因为之后呢，政治啊，就吸引了大家的注意力，就没人注意到这种小费新闻。
We didn't have time for fun little stories.
啊，所以大家都太注意这个政治新闻了，没有时间去管这些啊有趣的这种小故事了哈。那总之这个句子他说，2013年的时候有一个人啊，他 caught the attention of the media， 他引起了媒体的注意哈。The media 指的是媒体哈，就报纸啊、杂志啊，包括电视媒体等等哈。那跟我们现在讲 social media 就是社群媒体是不一样的哈。好，所以他怎么样引起了媒体的注意呢？当啊 they， 各位注意这个 they 是指 someone 啊，这个 they 不是指说一群人啊，所以当 这个 someone， 因为我们不知道他是男的还是女的嘛，所以现在的做法就是用 they， 用复数的代名词来代替他。所以当这个人他 began 开始怎么样 leaving， 开始留下 large sums 其实就是 large sums of money 的意思啊，那就是大笔的金额啊。那 sum 本来是一个总和，但是其实你也当我们讲到这个 sums of money 的时候，它常常是复数的啊，所以他留下大笔大笔的金额在 restaurants across the US， 在全美的各餐厅留下大笔大笔的小费。
You could also say a large sum of money.
也可以说 a large sum of money。 那我讲这 large sum 是用复数，因为它复数不止一笔。
Because he was doing it more than once.
Yeah,
he or she.
Yeah, 因为他不是只做一次，他在不同的餐厅付出了不同大笔的金额，所以这地方是 large sums 啊，是变复数。
But you could also say the gambler lost large sums of money in Las Vegas. So it's either he's repeatedly losing money or, yeah, it's about repeated times, yeah.
Yeah, 那你如果说一个赌徒呢，他这个 lost large sums of money， 那就表示他不是输一次，因为通常来讲，除非你要特别强调，你可以说他一次输了很多，不然的话，通常英文在这种时候都是用复数的。好，所以他全美到处留下了很多大笔大笔的金额。
So this diner, this person who ate at restaurants, they're called a diner. You could call them a customer, but diner makes it clear that the thing that they were doing was eating. Left tips of $10,000 at a Los Angeles eatery. And the only reason why I say $10,000 is because there's a US right there in front of the dollars. Otherwise, most Americans won't bother to put US dollars in front of it because obviously it's dollars. But it's only when you're outside of the US that you have to kind of specify. So the diner left tips of $10,000 at a Los Angeles eatery, a bistro in Chicago, $5,000 at a bistro in Chicago, and $3,000 at a cafe in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Now, all of these are restaurants, but they're different kinds. An eatery literally could be anything. It could be anything from a greasy spoon to a fancy place. Eatery is like a very broad term for restaurant. A bistro is more specifically a kind of fancier restaurant, but more casual. It's not a fine French dining place. It's a casual place where they're going to have like roasted meats, but they will have like a wine list and it won't be cheap. So it's not like a fast food place and it's not a neighborhood eatery. It's not a neighborhood restaurant. It could be, but it probably won't. And then a cafe is, of course, a place that their main business is coffee, but they also serve food. And cafes range from only doing coffee to basically being a restaurant that also has coffee.
好，那这个地方我们看到说他留下的the diner， 他这用 diner 的原因是因为他是这个主要更清楚的告诉你他是来用餐的人，他比 customer 更精确，所以它是一个比较精确的字。那这位来吃饭的人呢，他留下了 tips 就是好几笔的小费，因为接下来我们就告诉你最少这里有3笔的小费啊。那什么样的小费呢？他首先留了一个1万块美金的小费啊，在一家洛杉矶的 eatery 啊 ，eatery 就是一个 restaurant 就是它可能是很精致的，也可能是很这个一般的一些，反正吃饭的地方就叫 eatery 啊。那他留了5000块留在一个 bistro 啊 ，bistro 呢，它是比较。这是一个小餐馆，小餐馆感觉起来是比较精致啊，但是也不是极为正式的那种小餐馆啊。那这个是在芝加哥，然后他在这个 Ann Arbor, Michigan 这个地方的一家这个咖啡厅啊。那咖啡通常是卖咖啡的，但是他通常也是有卖一点食物啊。那他在这里留下了3000块的小费。
If you want to just talk about a restaurant without naming what kind of it is, what kind of place it is, you just say a place.Oh, I know a place. I know this great place we can go eat at.
好，所以各位在平常这个绘画里面，如果你只是要讲说我们去一个地方吃饭一个餐厅吃饭，跟中文一样，中文也会说我知道有个地方很棒，那这个地方也可以指餐厅啊。那英文的话，最常用的字可能就是一个 place 啊。那因为一个a place we can eat 可能是个 cafe， 可能是个 eatery， 可能是个 restaurant， 也可能是个 bistro。I
know a place. I know a good place.
那所以我知道一个好地方我们可以吃饭。英文这种时候用的是 place 这个字。
So when this person left all of this money at all these different places, they included the Instagram handle. A handle is a fancy word for name. It started in the American West as another word for name. It means like a nickname. like a 外号. And so they use this Instagram handle @tipsforjesus on their receipts. And this refers to a big issue in 2013 at the time where people were leaving cards or information for Christian churches instead of tips. And some people were really upset about that. They're like, it's not very Christian to leave nothing but the words of Jesus when somebody is expecting money. So that was a very big deal. So that person was referring to it when he made or she made their handle @tipsforjesus. So they wrote this on the receipts, and this allowed people to keep track of the person's spending, which meant that this person obviously wanted to be known.
OK, 好，所以呢，我们看到这个地方说 they included。这个 they 还是指那个 someone 啊，因为他不知道他性别，所以用 they。那这个 someone 呢，他就 included， 他会包含啊这个 Instagram handle 就是这个 name 的意思，尤其是在这个网络online 的上面呢，很多人取一个 nickname 一个外号，那个就是 handle， 所以它会包含这样的一个这个 Instagram 的一个名字，叫做这个 tips for Jesus， 那留在 there 这个 there 啊就是。也是一样，指那个 someone 他的 receipt 上面，他会在那个他的收据上面啊，就留下这样的一个东西啊。那刚刚 Angel 老师讲说，那个时候其实很多人啊，这个跑去餐厅吃饭呢，他不留小费啊，他留下一个可能一个小卡片啊，或者一个小小的宣传品啊，上面讲说这个放一些耶稣的话啊，哈，感觉起来好像就是其实是我不给你小费，我很小气，可是呢啊，好像又要告诉你说，来，我告诉你，这个是 Jesus 给你的福音啊，那所以。大概也有这样的一个背景啊，所以总之这一个人他付钱这个给小费的时候，他会把这个tips for Jesus 放在他的那个 receipt 上面。那这个样子的话呢，就 allowed 使得人们可以 keep track of 可以跟踪、追踪或者记录，叫做 keep track of 他的 spending 啊 ，spending 就他花费、他花钱，好 the act of paying out money 他花钱。那大家都可以跟踪追踪说又是这一个人他这次这个付了多少小费，然后因为他有留下那个 tips for Jesus， 所以下一次他给了很大笔的小费的时候，你又觉得他现在又给了一笔小费，所以让他们这个人其实有一点点感觉起来是要让大家知道说是我在付这些大笔的小费。
Or he wanted to point out this issue, I'm not sure.Yeah,
或者是他想要指出这个问题，就是有些人他是把这个耶稣的话留给你当小费，那我呢不只留话给你，我还真的有给你小费。Yeah.
So in total, more than 130,000 was left in tips. So it wasn't just those 3 tips. This woman spent a lot of money.
Yeah, in total 就是总共加起来呢，他花的小费超过了这个13万美元的这样的小费。
However, some sources have claimed the person was the former vice president of PayPal, Jack Selby. And I remember hearing this at the time, but this was never confirmed.
当然这个并没有证实啦哈。那 some sources 有一些消息来源have claimed 宣称这个人呢是这个前副董事长的 PayPal 的前副董事长啊，所以反正他钱多得很啊，所以他给这样小费好像感觉起来也没什么大不了的。
Now, not everyone remains anonymous. If you're anonymous, it means that you don't give out your name. Or not everyone gives away money for no reason. Like, we don't really know why that person gave out the money. And so it feels like there's no reason for it.
Yeah, 那 not everyone 并不是每一个人并非所有的人 remains 就是保留在一个状态维持在一个状态。什么状态呢？ Anonymous. 那 remains anonymous 是常常看到一起用的一个 collocation 就是不知名这个 anonymous 那个 ONYM 那个 NYM 那个地方可能像感觉就像 name 嘛，所以那个其实 ONYM 这个字根就是 name， 那 AN 是否定字头，所以就是没有名字，不知名的。所以这个人他并不是所有的人都保持不知名的状态或者是给钱 gives away money 把钱送出去 for no reason 无缘无故所以不是每一个人给小费的时候都说我的名字无名氏然后呢他把钱送出去的时候也是无缘无故的，并不是这样。换句话说，有些人是有一些原因的。
Bob Erb was eating at a burger place in Canada. See, they used place, a burger place, a chips place, a fries place, a something place. And he was on his way to his father's funeral. Not a happy circumstance. If you're on your way to, it means you're en route to. You're literally going there, and you've stopped to do a thing. So he was on his way to his father's funeral when he began speaking with the restaurant's owner, Clifford Luther.
好，那 Bob Erb 他 was eating， 他在一个地方吃饭哈，在一个这个汉堡店吃饭啊 ，a burger place。所以这里这种 place 代表那个餐厅哈，那是在加拿大。那 on his way to 就是在他前往什么什么的途中啊，他其实是要前往他父亲的丧礼。好，那他在吃饭。那这个时候呢，他开始跟一个人讲话，这个人就是这家这个汉堡店的 owner 老板啊 ，Clifford Luther.
Now Luther mentioned to this person Bob Erb that his daughter had been diagnosed with cancer. If you've been diagnosed with something, it means the doctor has officially said, yes, you have this illness.
Be diagnosed with 一个 illness 就是表示被诊断出有这个病。所以呢 Luther 提到说他的女儿呢被诊断出有癌症啊。
Now, when Erb received the bill for his burger and fries, which really should be like, I don't know, $15 max, he wrote out a check for $10,000.
所以当这个 Erb 拿到账单哈，这就是 for 就什么的账单呢？拿到他这个汉堡跟薯条的账单的时候呢 ，wrote out a check 就中文讲开出支票，因为中文也是讲开出一张支票，也是出好 wrote out a check， 好，他开出一张支票面额用 for 这个介系词，他开出了一张面额$10,000的支票。
I guess because he really knows how expensive end-of-life expenses can be.
Yeah.
And in another case, a couple at a hotel bar in New Jersey. A hotel bar is a bar that's part of a hotel, and it's sometimes part of the hotel lobby or adjacent to it. So this person noticed a paw print tattoo. It's a tattoo that looks like like a dog or a cat stepped in ink and then stepped on your skin. It's kind of a cute tattoo you can get. And it was on the wrist of their bartender. And so they asked the bartender about her tattoo. This is common.
所以 in another case 在另外一个案例里面呢，有一对夫妇哈，他们是在 New Jersey 的一个旅馆的吧台啊，他们 注意到 a paw print tattoo 就是一个爪印，paw 就是猫爪或狗爪的 print 的一个印子的一个刺青。好，在哪里看到呢？在这个 the wrist of their bartender， 在他们的那个酒保的 wrist 手腕上面。好，所以他们就问这个酒保，这刺青怎么回事啊
？And so, of course, the bartender would talk about her dog's circumstance, and she mentioned that her dog was having surgery after swallowing a plastic ball, because dogs are dumb sometimes, often, extremely often, and that she was struggling to make ends meet. If you want to make ends meet, there's a whole discussion. I just read about this on the internet the other day. That people don't really know where this came from. Do you know where this came from? Make ends meet?
Not really.
Yeah, like no one can really quite agree on it, but it's basically like if you have $1,000 to spend for the month and if you get to like the 24th and your $1,000 are spent and you still have, 10 days to get through or 8 days to get through, you haven't made ends meet. You haven't made the expenses meet the costs. So she was struggling, and even though, in spite of the fact that she was working 3 jobs, and unfortunately, this is super common in the U.S. right now.
所以呢 make ends meet 就是维持收支平衡就是 not to get in debt 的意思好，所以呢这个bartender 他提到说他的狗呢 was having surgery 在要动手术to have surgery 通常没有冠词也不用复数所以他的狗要动手术，在什么时候动手术呢？因为他吞了一个塑胶球然后同时他说他很努力的 was struggling to 就他很努力，可是几乎做不到来寻求收支平衡。In spite of 尽管他已经兼了3份工作了，还是没有办法 make ends meet。The
couple ended up leaving a $1,000 tip for the single mother of 3 at the end of the evening. And that, honestly, vet bills in the U.S. cost so much that probably just about covered all of the medical expenses with not much left over. But still, that's a huge and generous gift.
所以呢 at the end of the evening 就当天傍晚结束的时候呢，这一对夫妇 ended up 就他们最后怎么样 ended up doing something 就他们最后做了一件事情，他们就留下了$1,000的小费给这一位 the single mother of 3这一位3个小孩的单亲妈妈 啊，那 the 是因为就是指我们故事里面讲到的这一位啊，那$1000就像Angel 老师刚刚讲的，其实在美国这个兽医啊，还有人的医生都很贵，所以$1000可能那狗动手术差不多用完了。
So we have some questions here for you about the article, yesterday's and today's. Number one is, according to the Day 1 passage, what brought the practice of tipping to the U.S. originally?
所以根据第一天的文章，是什么事情把给小费这个做法带到了美国呢？
And the answer is A, international travel became more common and everyone wanted to show how cultured they were.
答案是 A， 是国际旅游变得更普遍了。
Number two, what occurred in the 1960s based on the Day 1 passage?
根据第一天的文章，1960年代发生了什么事呢？
Wage laws for servers, this is D, by the way, wage laws for servers were passed by the government enshrining the practice of tips in law.
所以答案是 D， 政府通过了餐厅服务人员的薪资法。
And number three, what does make ends meet most likely mean in the Day 2 passage?
所以第二天的文章里面那个 make ends meet 最有可能是什么意思呢？
The answer is D, earn enough money to cover bills and regular expenses.
答案是 D， 赚取足够的钱来支付账单和固定开销。
And number four, which of the following fits best in the blank in the second paragraph of the Day 2 passage?
好，底下哪一个最适合放到第二天文章第二段中间那个空格的？这是一种新的题型。好，那各位要从上下文来判断一下哪一个句子最适合放在这里。
And the answer is A, the person was never positively identified. Positively means for real and for sure. Proven.
Yeah, 就是确切的，就我们知道是正确的。好，那这一题答案应该是 A， 因为这空格后面有指出来然而有资讯来源声称这个人就是 PayPal 的前副董事长某某某所以我们就知道前一句应该是跟这个人的身份有关，所以我们要选的是 A 这个答案，意思是说这个人的身份从来没有被确切指认出来所以从来没有人确切告诉你说或者确认这个人是谁，不过有消息来源指出这个人就是 PayPal 前副董事长所以这样的话这个意思就前后吻合了。
Well, that is all we have for you today, but please come back again for more Ivy English. Until then, bye-bye.